and a very good morning to everyone. I, Vivu Little, on behalf of the entire university, heartily welcome you to this program to welcome Padma Shri Professor Kiran Seth, founder of Speak McKay. Before we move further into the ceremony, I'd like to introduce our guests and the audience to the Instrumental Society our guest Professor Kiran Seth is accredited for. Speak McKay. Speak McKay, or the Society for the Promotion of Indian Classical Music and Culture amongst youth, is a non-political, nationwide voluntary movement founded in 1977 by Dr. Kiran Seth, Professor Emeritus at IIT Delhi, who was awarded the Padma Shri for his contribution to the arts in 2009. Speak McKay's intention is to enrich the quality of formal education by increasing awareness about different aspects of Indian heritage and inspiring the youth to believe, to imbibe the values embedded in it. It seeks to inspire youth through experiencing the mysticism embodied in the rich and heterogeneous cultural tapestry of Indian and world heritage, with the hope that the beauty, grace, values, and wisdom embodied in these arts will influence their way of life and thinking and inspire one to become a better human being. For this, the most accomplished artists of the country render programs of Indian classical music and dance, folk, poetry, theatre, traditional paintings, crafts and yoga, primarily in schools and colleges nationwide. In 2011, Speak McKay was awarded the Rajiv Gandhi Sadbhavana Award in recognition of its contribution to youth development. In 2012 to 2013, over 7,500 programs were organized in more than 1,500 institutions in 800 towns in India and 50 towns abroad, impacting more than 3 million students. All these programs were organized by thousands of volunteers, largely students, teachers, housewives, retired people, professionals, young and old. Speak McKay celebrates Niskam Seva, the spirit of volunteerism, of giving selflessly without any expectation in return, a value that is intrinsic to our culture and important to nurture today's world. Today we are proud to have this extravagant institution, Speak McKay, in the campus of Pondicherry University to celebrate music and its old association with the very cultural roots of India. The university is proud and grateful to host Professor Seth.
Good morning, everybody, and very hearty Pongal greetings. I deem it a great honor to have Professor Seth here, whom you will know as a professor of IIT Delhi, who has researched and taught operational research. Some of you may know him as a founder of Speak McKay, or a sheet anchor or a brain behind this great organization, or you will say his name is synonymous with Speak McKay. If you say Speak McKay, Dr. Kiran Seth's name comes to our mind, and the moment you say Dr. Kiran Seth, Speak McKay comes to our mind. A great individual. You said he was awarded or honored with Padma Shri way back in 2009. When we were there as students, researchers, teachers, we used to wonder whenever there will be a list of Republic Day honors, we would go through that and we would be absolutely dismayed at not seeing the name of Dr. Kiran Seth in those lists. We used to discuss amongst ourselves, there is one man who deserves such honor, is Dr. Kiran Seth, and nobody else for that matter. And the honor came, but came very late. I'll say 20 years late, at least. So Nevertheless, when it came, we were all very happy. Many of you may not know the contribution, the great contribution that Dr. Kiran Seth has made. He's a very modest individual, remains within the four walls, and he's always thinking about what best way to inculcate this love of classical music and other forms of art amongst our youth. But let me tell you, he's done a remarkable service, something which is unparalleled. I can say that simply on the strength of my association with this organization in whatever little way we contributed. Let me briefly tell you about the way this organization had developed. It started, I thought it was in 1976, but Dr. Seth corrected me that it was in 77. 77 was the year I did my MSc in 1975, and 76 we had just started our research when some people used to do those coffee house talks that there is going to be a classical music program in Miranda House or Hindu College, and once in a while we would go and attend that. When Speak Mackay organized the first program, I very vividly remember we were all young volunteers running around here on the stage. We had no money, let me tell you, no cash, no resources. It started as on a very small note, and there was a program, and we were all running around. Dr. Seth was very enthusiastically telling, put the dari this way and table should be here. Why I'm narrating this is the position we were in and the way we started. Nobody would have thought that this will grow into a worldwide organization which will have chapters all over. And this is not possible unless somebody has an absolutely sense of dedication to a particular aim. That is where Dr. Kiran Seth put his life into this. There have been many articles, many news articles, in fact, documentaries also on him, but he remained true to his dedication always. And from that modest beginning I attended the first one at Hindu College of Kirodimal, one of these two colleges.
Hindu College.
Yes, where we had those small dusters and we were cleaning the places so that people will find it comfortable. No sweeper, no attendant, let me tell you, we did all this. Even some of the musical instruments we were cleaning, and all voluntary work, let me tell you. In certain programs, we didn't even have the money to even serve a cup of coffee, and we used to tell, well, this has to be done to those. And the program used to be attended to begin with a handful of about 100, 150 participants. Anybody else in his place at that time would have got disappointed and would have said, well, that is the end of the story. And many youngsters there, we heard in the corner talks that why are they wasting their time? Do you think this organization is going to grow? Do you think it is going to lead us anywhere? Do you think is that the way to create interest in amongst the youth? Why don't they call Pandit Jasraj or Pandit Bhimsen Joshi or M.S. Subbalakshmi? During those days, if one of these such eminent artists would come, people would become interested. Now let me tell you, during those days, even to get a glimpse of these people would be a dream. As I said, Speak Mackay was no money we had, and Dr. Kiran Seth persistently went on and on. Despite all odds against this, when you go and talk to any senior officer that we want to do this, they will make a face. Then no, why don't you do some films and this and that? But about classical music, people had some kind of an aversion at that time. Though there were many who were great lovers, let me tell you. In our own class, majority of our students, my classmates, they were all very fond of classical music, and I remember having heard those bigger record, if you have seen those old ones, LPs. M.S. Subbalakshmi. We never had money, but we used to pool in and purchase those and then listen to those wonderful renditions of these great artists. Then gradually, from one college to another college, and then gradually it developed into an organization which made a name. The aim was only to inculcate right kind of love for our Indian classical music and culture amongst the youth, as the name suggests. Gradually developed, let me tell you, if I look back, because I was always associated with this, and sometimes, we were young researchers. There would be a program and we may not finish our experiment, and we will rush halfway through, giving the duty that you do it, I am going to that side. And by the time you reach, you would really be disappointed to note that the program has started and you could not contribute to the stage setting and cleanliness and whatever. But that was the affection we had developed, that was the keenness we had at that time. And we would make sure that whenever there is a program, we will try our best to attend. We also used to have limited resources. Our PhD supervisors, though they had a great love for this, at times they'll scold us, you waste too much of time, you better devote to this. Then slowly we moved from the auditoriums, from all colleges and schools. We moved to schools also. When I say we, that means Dr. Kiran Seth and his team. I used to be a volunteer there. And then gradually we moved to schools also. There are many government schools where I attended these programs, and sometimes the young children would not appreciate, they would start talking, making noise, but nothing deterred us, let me tell you. So from schools, colleges, gradually from auditoriums, we moved to parks also. And there was a series called Music in Parks. In all the important parks of Delhi, this started, and general public would attend. And a stage came when people were so fond of it that they would ask, when is Spik Mackay organizing the program? So this is the way this was developed, and it developed into an organization which is known all over. Then from Delhi, it moved to the other states. And from other states, when it became very popular, those friends of ours, Indian diaspora, who was settled abroad, they also expressed their willingness, and gradually it moved abroad also. And there are chapters in US, Germany. Dr. Seth returned about 2 months back from Japan. Am I right?
We had opening in Japan.
Yes.
So it was virtual.
Virtual, but then the presence in Japan is also initiated. So now it is, if I say it's a worldwide organization, I will not be far from reality. The single-handed contribution, if I can give it, of course, Dr. Kiran Seth will be modest, he'll say, no, it's a teamwork. But let me tell you, it's a teamwork, but if the main sheet anchor goes away, the organization also wither away, we know about it. But Dr. Kiran Seth kept on doing service for Spik Mackay relentlessly. And it is now at a stage where I think Spik Mackay is providing the right platform for our youngsters to be initiated into the Indian arts and classical music. Many of you might not have heard classical music. You may not have liking, but let me tell you, if you start listening to it, the kind of soothing, the kind of solace that you get out of this, I think it cannot be described in words, it can be only experienced. So with that, when I came here, first thing I said was, aren't we having any concerts with the help of Spik Mackay? They said we used to have 20 years back, but then that's about it. I said, why didn't we continue? All kinds of words were explained, but I said, no, we must revive. And with fair bit of difficulties, we could ultimately revive. And last year, we had 2 wonderful programs where public from Pondicherry came and attended. Everybody had a wonderful word of appreciation for the programs, and everyone asked, when are we having the next one? And wherever I'll go to Auroville meetings or to the meetings with the CM in their official works, many would ask, when are you having next program? But then next program, when we were just about to plan, the great unfortunate pandemic struck, and the whole thing went for a spin. Despite that, I always give credit to our IT professionals that they have now enabled us. We have been able to connect ourselves through virtual means, and every remote part of our country is connected. So by virtual means, SWCMAC continued their effort in sending this across the country to all youngsters, to everybody, whosoever has a love for this. In fact, those who are connected, they would be getting routine messages that today there is a program here and tomorrow it is there. So we have not looked back, and I think the whole credit for all this remarkable, superb work goes to one single individual who persistently put in his heart and soul into this, is Dr. Kiran Seth. So I deem it a great honor and a great pleasure to have him here. Let me also tell you that once this Japan chapter was opened virtually, immediately on the same very day he rang me up. He says he would like to spend about 20-25 days at a place which is very peaceful, calm, if possibly on the coast, so that he can sit and plan what further way we can enrich our SWCMAC. So immediately when he said, I said, we have one in our university, though a modest place, but then if you would love to stay, we can organize, and that is how he is here with us. I thought when he is going to be here for about 20-25 days, 30 days, depending upon his mood, liking, we can make use of his services by requesting him to give talks to various departments so that our youngsters are benefited richly by his experience, and that is how he is here. He is going to deliver some 5-6 lectures depending upon his convenience, and we will be certainly benefiting out of his stay here. That's how I would say that, you know, in one sentence we say, so a gentleman has contributed so much that we really need to appreciate a great deal about it. I will not believe in this sentence for Dr. Kiran Seth. I will say he has contributed so much that we need to worship his services. I think that particular one sentence would sum up how richly he has done it throughout his service. Primarily, looking at the profession-wise, he is a professor of operational research at a premier institute, IIT Delhi. And it is not that he's been not doing any duty there, and he's been all the time contributing. He's a very revered teacher. People really hold him in great reverence, and he's appreciated all over. So in his professional career also, he's equally dedicated, and but SWCMAC is his heart, and that's how he is contributed. I have had the pleasure of reading many articles about him in newspapers, and having him here, I think I really feel that our university is truly blessed by his presence. And let's accord a very warm welcome to him and richly benefit out of his experience.
Thank you very, very much for this lovely introduction. I feel, I can sit up a little bit. But actually, as you rightly said, it has been a collective contribution of number of people from all over, including you and including many others. So first of all, I'd like to thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart that you have given us the opportunity of coming here. And I also thank the Registrar Chitra ji and Professor Balakrishnan ji, Professor Rajiv Jain ji, Professor Hanif ji, Professor Uma ji, Professor Charumati ji, Professor Ramaiya ji, and of course Radhika, Dr. Radhika, Dr. Santi, and Vivu, who have help organize all this, and that you all are giving some time to come here. I had the chance of meeting you in the guest house also. So it's been a very nice stay. It's not modest, it's a very nice guest house, very comfortable, and that's how I think a guest house should be. Not more than this, definitely not more than this. It's quite very nice guest house. So I thank you all very much. Now, what I do is specifically, because there's also some students and all are there also, so I'll give a little bit of the historical background, already given by Professor Gurmeet, but a little bit more, and then adding on to that, and then I'll basically concentrate on the concept and why it's important, not just for this to, it gives you, aesthetic pleasure, which is very important, but how it's very important even from the point of view of bringing creativity in science, in science and the other disciplines which you all are associated with this in this university, how it can benefit. So first of all, a little bit of the historical part. I was, like all of us, I was also a student. I was at IIT Kharagpur, and I used to sing Western music with the guitar. But there was a visionary staff member in IIT who used to organize with great difficulty a whole night of classical music. And we used to go sit at the back, put our bedding there, play cards, and we were not interested in what's happening. But what this man did was, I remember all my lovely professors of physics, maths, etc., etc. But I remember this man very specially, because though he didn't teach me directly anything, through the back door, he gave me something which is still growing inside me, which is very, very beautiful. Now, what happened was, after I graduated from IIT, I didn't even know what all this, little seed was growing inside me. I went to abroad to do my PhD. And there I saw a small advertisement in New York, in the Village Voice, that said, Ustad Nasir Aminuddin Dagar and Ustad Fariduddin Dagar were going to give a Dhrupad recital at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. So हमने कहा चलो देखें, let's go and see. So we actually went to have a look at what's happening. But it's like, for those of you who know, all of you might have studied the black box. You know what's coming in, you know what's going out, but you don't know what's happening in the black box. So we walked into the hall, heard the concert, came out walking 1 inch above the ground, figuratively, and didn't know why it happened to us. But I said, whatever it is something very, very special in this. And we started doing programs in Columbia University, where I was doing my PhD. This way, the great Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, we called him, we called many others, and they performed for, I shouldn't say performed, classical music is not a performance, it's an experience. So they gave us an experience which I just can't forget. After finishing my PhD, I joined Bell Labs as a research scientist, and I was there, and I kept us associated with this whole. It was not called SPICMECE. We were doing it under the aegis of the India Club of Columbia University. And by the way, it's still operating in Columbia University. That's a wonderful thing. And after finishing my tenure, I was very fortunate to get an invitation to join IIT Delhi. And I can proudly say I didn't even apply for it. I got an invitation, so I said, let me check it out. So I left Bell Labs and I joined IIT Delhi. And I never looked back after that. One of the reasons why I did that also was because I wanted to learn Dhrupad from Ustad Nasir Aminuddin Dagar. And I can't tell you what this great man, great musician, but more importantly, the great man what the music has done to him. I'm going to relate some of the things now, but after that, I came back to Delhi, and I remember asking a group of students in 1976, when I was teaching there, I said, have you ever heard the name of, at that time, one of the greatest sitar players who was alive? He was Pandit Nikhil Banerjee.
Yes.
So not one student amongst what we call creme de la creme, or whatever you want to call them, in a city like Delhi, a rare city, had ever heard the name, forget about having heard the music. So I said, you've got cassettes, and at that time cassettes, of Stevie Wonder, Joan Baez, of the Beatles, I'm talking of that time. But you have not even heard of some of the greatest masters of our heritage. Should we do something about it? They said, yes. So we all got together and we did a class project. We decided to have a program. And the first name of SPICMECA was MEFORG, Mechanical Engineering Final Year Operation Research Group, because I was teaching OR to the final year mechanical engineer. MEFORG presents. So after that, we publicized it a lot, and we booked the convocation hall of IIT Delhi, which has a capacity of about 1,500. I said, it won't fully fill up, but maybe half at least. Come the day of the program, 5 minutes before the program, I look inside and I see 5 people sitting inside. When the program started, there must have been 10. By the time the first rag was over, we were back to 5. So it was a disastrous start, but we said, no, never say die. Next year we again did it. And this time I got the whole class involved. This was MEFIES Presents, Mechanical Engineering Final Years Present. And because we had learned from our mistakes, it was a marginal success. Then after that, immediately after that, Delhi University, Hindu College, many other colleges, they just, came to know of it, and we started doing it in other colleges. And then the schools came to know about it. They also approached us. We started doing it in schools. So I'd like to, you just talked about the dearth of finances. But really, I'm telling you, what happened was, we didn't have any finances. Yes. But we said, Karne to, we have to do it. So we would plan the whole thing and then look where we're going to get the money from. So sometimes we got money from here, money from there, and somehow we managed. But in 1980, I remember, we planned the whole thing with great masters, some of the greatest masters of the country, you name it. Ustad Bismillah Khan, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Professor T.N. Krishnan, you just name it, they were there. And then I found that there was no money. And we tried here and there, no money. So we were almost going to cancel it. I remember going on my two-wheeler along Tughlaq Road. Yes. I still remember that. Driving down, and I saw the nameplate of Mr. Sabanaigam. Mr. Sabanaigam was, at that time, I knew he was the education secretary to the government of India. A huge house and all that, as you know. So I just drove in. And it was a Sunday, and I knocked at his door, and the person came and said, yes, kya baat hai? What's the matter? So I said, I'd like to meet Professor Sabanaigam, Mr. Sabanaigam, not Professor. So after wait of about 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, a very gruff-looking man came out and said, yes, what's the matter? I said, I know I'm disturbing you. I'm really apologetic about it, but we have a little this problem. He said, this is no time to come. This is Sunday and it's my house. You should come to my office. So then I said, so it's so difficult to meet even the secretary to your secretary, So then he smiled a little bit. And he said, okay, on Monday you come and we'll meet. So when I went on Monday, I could see in his eyes that he's going to support us. There and then, And that was the first big grant that we got from the Education Ministry. This was, and that helped us do this big program which we had. Now, after that, it's grown just like what Professor Gurmeet Singh has said, it's gone all over. It's a movement. It's not an organization, it's a movement. So people have taken it from here. One of
houses came in.
Corporate house also. And what happened was that there was this boy, Sunil Malhotra, of that time it was called MACT, Maulana Azad College of Technology in Bhopal. I still remember this boy. He went to do his studies in the USA, and he just wrote back saying that, why don't we start in USA? I said, sure, again, we'll do that. So we had the first program in 1986 in University of Hartford, Connecticut, thanks to this boy. So then after that it spread in the United States and other places. So today, as you have already heard, we have spread in different parts of Europe, in West Asia, in Australia, in Singapore, in Indonesia, in Japan, of course in all over North America. And as I said, it's very organic. It's an organically developed movement. Now, why is this so important? I am now coming to that. Say, for example, for a university like Puducherry University. I want to mention here that 10 of the top 20 performing arts programs in the world are at universities that do not specialize in it. These include Harvard University, University of Oxford, University of Cambridge, Yale, Stanford, UC Berkeley, Columbia University. The Nobel Academy's testament to the role played by music in the lives of the recipients, with mention of Einstein. Einstein used to play the classical violin, by the way. I'm sure you know about Planck and Heisenberg. Scientists and Nobel laureates see similarities between science and music. Music has the ability to spark creativity and teach disciplinary practices. Lord Raleigh, Sir C.V. Raman, Shri J.C. Bose, all have published papers on the effect of music. So what I'm trying to point out is there's nothing, it's not just it's not a Rang Bhari Sham. It's not that. It's not even something where you say that I'm just getting de-stressed. No. It's got a very, very important role to play in bringing creativity into media studies, into whatever disciplines there are there. And here I want to again read out something which I wrote some time back. Seeing beyond what one can see. Among the greatest contributions of India to the world has been in the development of different techniques to experience exquisite domains of the inner self which are not clearly visible. Space gets curved due to the effect of gravity, and hence light from the stars also gets bent before it reaches our eyes. This was postulated mathematically by Einstein and was later proved experimentally by applied astrophysicists who took photographs of a total solar eclipse and analyzed them. By the way, Einstein also predicted gravitational waves, and mind you, 100 years back he postulated gravitational waves. 100 years after that, 3 physicists, Rainer Weiss, Kip Thorne and Barry Barish, got the Nobel Prize for proving that he was right. Just imagine, with pen, paper, mathematics, and just sitting in the Geneva Patent Office, he has postulated something 100 years back, and it's been proved after that 100 years, and proved that he was right. It's very similar with Higgs. Higgs did something with the boson, whose existence was proven at CERN, as you all know, with a Large Hadron Collider, spending $8 to $9 billion, thousands of applied physicists working. 40 years later, they say Higgs was correct. So what I'm trying to point out is the abstract domain. Here's what I'm concentrating on. Dark matter which we cannot observe comprises of over 90% of dark matter and energy, and its existence was similarly proven by Sir Kevin. Very abstract and deep truths in science have been revealed largely to great Western minds in the recent past. Hypothesized explanations of many fundamental phenomena have been proven experimentally, but are constantly being revised as we come across brilliant minds proposing new sets of hypotheses through deeper insights, which again have to be proven experimentally. A classic example has been in the journey of the search for the fundamental particle by scientists through the atom, the electron, proton, neutron, the quark, the boson, and still more to come. In this part of the world, a very similar process of great minds hypothesizing certain truths has taken place. They have proved them experientially. The difference lies in the method of proof, experimental in one case and experiential in the other. Our scientific laboratories are our ashrams, where great research work has been carried out in the inward domain. Rishis and Sufi saints used the body and mind as their laboratories, and were able to infer truths of a very deep, abstract, subtle, inspiring, and mystical nature. They developed many techniques like yoga, meditation, and our classical arts to reach intense experiential states. Today, faith in great unseeable truths is becoming superficial, and hence show is taking over depth. This can be witnessed in the manner in which our festivals are being celebrated. Our leading gurus are accepting awards, setting up big corporations, attending world financial conferences, conducting cultural extravaganzas, all to impress upon the people the world over that there's something very valuable in India, which is gradually getting lost. But in the process, we're also losing out on people who can actually enter what I call the alpha domain and stay in there as long as they please. We all experience flashes of this very creative domain, but are not able to sustain our presence in it. For most of us, entry and exit takes place randomly, while great minds can stay put in the state for as long as they please. Only when there are large number of physicists will an Einstein emerge. Einstein emerge. Similarly, when there are a large number of people striving to unravel the inner domain, will a Swami Ramakrishna, a Ramana Maharishi, a Guru Nanak Dev Ji, or a Nizamuddin Aulia appear. India may become the leading economic, technological, and military power by the year 2050, but India may not remain India. We might lose the results of centuries of experimentation of our ancestors. We all have to make an effort to prevent this from happening. The last thing that I'd like to say specifically to the students who are here, and I give this small piece which after every semester that I teach, I give this small piece to my students. So Vivu, you can hear that also, okay? It's for everybody, but specifically designed for the students. When I go to teach a class today, there are largely speaking three types of responses which I get. The first is when there is no response, where the student has already decided that mathematics is not for her and has switched off. The second is where the question is asked before my sentence is over and a complete answer is expected. And the third is because the whole night they have been on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever. Since when I was doing my PhD at Columbia University in New York, one of the top mathematicians of the world, Professor David Sigmund, was taking my class on probability. Despite my best efforts, I was not able to understand what he was teaching. After about a month, I went to his chamber and told him about my predicament. He just pushed me out saying, "You're doing fine, Kiran." But that did not satisfy me. I felt that if I could not understand such a fundamental course, I was not fit to do a PhD. I therefore, with due respects to Charumati and to Umaji, started taking courses in the Columbia University Business School. However, in one semester, all what Professor Sigmund had taught started falling in place like a jigsaw puzzle, and I ran back to do my PhD. Whatever little I know about the subject is because of the fact that Professor Sigmund did not come down to my level, but helped me to rise to his. I came back to India and wanted to learn Dhrupad from Ustad Nasir Aminuddin Dagar in Kolkata. I requested him and he agreed to have me with him during my holidays. Excitedly I went, but was very disappointed. He would tune the Tanpura and ask me to sing Sa. He'd put me in the corner and say, Sa gao. And it said, 1 hour Sa, Sa, 2 hours Sa, Sa, 8 hours Sa. He would not even sit with me. It seemed as though he was not interested in teaching me. And many a time I had this desire to return home. I also had a little ego that I was teaching at IIT Delhi and he's not even giving me that much amount of lift, that much amount of attention. But something kept me back. After the month was over, I returned to Delhi. I felt that I'd just wasted my time in Kolkata. However, over a period, I realized what a khazana, what a treasure of wisdom had been passed on to me. The realization of the depth of thought contained in some of his utterances dawned on me very slowly but surely. He would say, Ek sade, sab sade, sab sade, sab jaye. And he said, तुम्हें रे पे जाने की इजाज़त तब है जब तुम्हें सा का दर्शन हो जाए. Not get the sa correct, but जब तक सा का दर्शन, till you get the darshan of sa, you are not permitted to go to re. Both Professor Sigmund and Ustad Nasir Aminuddin Dagar showed me the way of touching the alpha zone, the experience of which is something beyond description. My dear students, this is something which I want you to try to experience. From my above mentioned gurus, I learnt the method of fathoming the depths of any great thought process. I bow my head in reverence. So, all I want to say is that don't look at classical music or all that we are doing. There are many roads to the same top of Mount Everest, the inner Mount Everest. And Spikmeke is not just doing classical music, classical dance, yoga and meditation, folk forms, craft, cinema classics, all these things are different roads to the same goal. That's why I always say that when I see the work which Ustad Nasir Aminuddin Dagar has done, and I see the work which, say, Guru Amanur Madhav Chakyar of Kudiyattam has done in Kerala, or I see the work of Ganga Devi who's doing Madhubani painting in Madhubani, there's a great similarity in the end goal. They're all leading to the same end goal. Therefore, what we do is, we have craft workshops also, we have classical music, we have classical dance, we have folk forms, we have cinema classics. You don't know which one catches Bivu or catches whom. So you can take any road leading to the same goal. With this, I'll end. I said I'll finish by 25 minutes. You said 20 to 30 minutes. I've finished in 25 minutes. And I thank you very much for this opportunity, for giving me this opportunity to express what I have experienced. I'm not saying I know too much about, I've not read the great books or any such thing, because all the time we have spent time reading, maths and other subjects like that. But I can definitely say that out of what little I've experienced, that you young people who are listening to this can have something which will be so inspiring, so subtle, so abstract, and most importantly, so mystical. Thank you.
Thank you, Bibu, for your kind words. I take this opportunity to thank Professor Gurmeet Singh Ji, our Vice Chancellor, who made this day happen in our university. Ever since he has taken up the position as Vice Chancellor of Pondicherry University, he has been constantly supporting art and artists of Pondicherry by his presence. He makes sure that he is there to encourage the artists and the events. And of course, I have also got benefited. He inaugurated my show also. So I'm so honored today that I'm sharing space with Professor Kiranji here on the same dais, a man who inspired me way back late 80s when I was a young graduating student. So as an artist, I promise today, and at a capacity as an assistant professor at the Pondicherry University, sir, we take this movement forward to coming generations to strengthen it further in promoting Indian art and culture. And I thank Dr. B. Chitra, our registrar, for her support in bringing this event successful. I thank Professor Rajiv Jain, our cultural director, Dr. Balakrishnan, Director of Studies, and our Dean, Professor Ramaya, from the bottom of my heart. I look forward for your support in taking this movement forward. Thank you.